Right. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Wellness Wednesday. And joining me today is Tanya Stricek. And we are talking about knee pain, weight, dieting, and mindfulness. We were going to be live on YouTube, but the tech gods have not allowed that today. So we're pre-recording and dropping it in for you to enjoy. Hi, Tanya. Welcome. Thanks so much
And
for joining me today.
I'm excited. I'm excited, of course, because I'm going to be talking about knee pain, weight gain, and mindfulness from a personal perspective.
Nice. I can identify with the knee pain for sure. All of the above, actually. So this is going to be a great conversation. So let's start with that. What's going on with you?
Well, this topic has been top of mind for me the last couple of weeks. This isn't the first time I have cyclical knee pain. And for me, it started back in 2019. I actually think it was triggered by an injury and some mold exposure. The pandemic hit. I didn't get any surgery. I also was terrified of surgery because scar tissue, the actual knee replacement thing was thrown around. And I'm like, you have to replace those. I don't want to do that right now. So I started yoga, walking, cycling. I gave up the running. But lately, I've had some knee pain. And so, Sherry, of course, from a mechanical perspective, there can be so many reasons we have knee pain. But my 58-year-old diet mentality mindset came in and said, it's your fault. You sit too much. You don't exercise enough. You've gained XYZ pounds because of the pandemic. How could you stop doing this? Stop. You know how it goes, right?
Mhm.
And so I'm so glad we're having this conversation because I'm dollars to donuts sure that other women berate themselves for their own bodies causing health issues. And this can cause a lot of anxiety in people. So this is kind of the basis for this conversation as to weight gain, knee pain, and how do we get out of this stinking thinking from a mindfulness perspective.
Well, exactly. And I think one of the biggest things there that, you walk into a doctor's office, and if you are what they consider to be overweight and you have knee pain, the automatic answer is lose weight. And I've worked with people for years, decades, and they're told lose weight, but here's the issue. They have a lot of knee pain. So when they want to up their cardiovascular exercise, okay, the knee pain gets worse, right? Then they're trying to do it solely through diet. And in there comes restriction and comes feeling bad about yourself and just what you talked about, right? And so that cycle continues. And so we see weight gain instead of weight loss. There's not an alternative shown for knee pain. So I've had left knee surgery for
Oh,
a meniscus repair
okay.
and some scraping done in my left knee. I injured my right knee over a year ago hiking and climbing. And that has probably been the most problematic for me. And the knee is not the same. And I've had the MRI and I know what's going on with the knee. And I've been doing my knee exercises, but some days it's really good and some days it's really cranky. I have a brace now, but it's changed how I look at things. So climbing while I'm hiking is out, even with the knee brace, still pretty painful, and but has that affected my weight also? For sure, because things have changed for me, right? Is it the sole cause? No. But, keeping my hips stretched out, keeping myself strong and mobile has been a game changer in regards to my knee. And then when it's sore, resting, ice, medication if needed, and just learning to manage can be quite a chore in itself, right? I find for knee. And then throw weight on top of that. And you're right, beating yourself up about it. So, what do we do about this?
I think that's a great question. And I had to circle back to the things that I've taught women that I've worked with. We really have to look at all health behaviors. And I think we also have to come out of these polarizing camps of wellness, nutrition, exercise, etc., and start to go, and I'll bring this back to that wise mind, like what's right for me.
Hmm.
I don't know if it's weight gain until I actually go through the motions of taking off possibly 20 to 30 pounds, which might be what the orthopedic surgeon's going to tell me next Tuesday. But is he going to tell me about all other health behaviors? Probably not. So I know what you just said, Sherry. I've been sitting a lot. I was in such a nervous system wreck state that I turned on one of your videos to calm, and then I did a simple standing Pilates video from you, just this simple movement of my hips. I started getting up. I have a walking desk on order. All of these getting some sleep, all of these things can
Hmm.
actually start to calm inflammation in the body. And even from a mind perspective, realizing that, okay, I do have some power, I do have steps I can take.
Hmm.
That being said, when you said manage, what I started to think of was that coming to terms with things are going to be different. And I will say that's a really hard one for me sometimes,
Me too.
especially mobility, right? You and I very much cherish
Mm-hmm.
the gift of movement.
Hmm. And I love what you're saying, about, that recipe, the bigger picture, right? What are other things that can help calm the knee and regulate our nervous system, calm us down a
Mhm.
little bit, help us
Mhm.
sleep better? You know, diet, what we eat is part of it in regards to inflammation, for sure. Sitting, part of it. Okay. I was just actually talking to my group on Monday night. I do a live lifestyle coaching session with them once a month. These are the guys in my Healing Place virtual studio. And we were talking about a movement journal, which was just so interesting because, you know, like I said to them, all right, um, I'm going to go out and walk Monday. I'm going to go out and walk Tuesday. I'm going to go out and walk Wednesday. And Thursday, my knee hurts, or my feet hurt, or something hurts, right? So, what is it to go out and walk Monday, to do Pilates on Tuesday, go for a walk on Wednesday, check in Thursday? How's that knee pain? How's the foot pain? Right? How's whatever's going on? Did I do a stretch in there? And what you're doing is just coming in to that recipe that works for you and helping you manage that pain right now, but still showing up for yourself and taking care of yourself. And eventually you come with, okay, maybe it looks like, all right, I can walk successfully 2 to 3 days a week for 30 minutes, 45, whatever it is. Pilates works really well for me. Yoga works great. I'm doing a yin class to open up and help mobility around my joints. And bingo, this is the recipe that works for me, helps me manage the pain. I feel good. I'm sleeping better. Okay, I've got that figured out. Now I can start looking at food. What are your thoughts on that?
I actually think that's so great for your overall well-being. First of all, what you're describing, and sometimes as soon as somebody throws out the word journal, my mind goes to like food journaling and is it going to make me feel like I'm not doing enough, etc. But really, what you're doing is bringing that curiosity to our movement, which is only one portion of health, right? And
Mhm.
looking at what we can do and sort of getting something down there because what you said earlier, when you can't move and you feel like you've gained weight and you go just to diet and in the sense of restriction, you're missing a lot of things. You're missing nourishment. You're missing protein, which we need more of at this age and stage, which means you're probably missing amino acids and minerals and things that build brain chemicals that make you feel less anxious because we feel more anxious in menopause and beyond because of brain chemistry and hormones. Like it's a whole soup and you can only start to build that recipe one ingredient at a time.
Mm.
And I love that you start with movement. That's exactly what I did because as you say, motion is lotion and it isn't just that I think for the joints. It's for me, it's really for my whole mental well-being.
Mhm.
And so I really like that. And I appreciate that perspective because that's what I take away from you too.
Excellent, excellent. I love that. Let's talk a little bit more now about protein and nourishing our bodies, especially in that recovery phase, you know.
Women, I feel, I mean, and we're in the high protein era, right? We're in the era in nutrition where people tell you to go eat carnivore and maybe you should be keto. And we've
Yeah.
talked about that ad nauseum. I don't know what's right for you if you're listening or watching this particular
Mhm.
talk. But we do need to access adequate amounts of protein in menopause. I actually have a YouTube video on protein and fiber. There's cheat sheets. If you want to go follow me, they're in the description. When
Okay,
we are,
just a quick aside, I'm going to drop the link to that
okay,
in these notes.
okay,
Okay.
yeah,
Sorry to interrupt. Go ahead.
that's okay. When we aren't taking in enough protein, we're going to be hungrier. We're going to be
Mhm.
bitchier. We're going to be less satiated, but we're missing building blocks of collagen, joints, muscles. Now, personally, I don't love animal protein. So I have a list in my kitchen of all the plant-based proteins that I can eat as an option. This is where I believe we all have to keep an open mind. And again, go back to this wise mind. What is this? What does the science say? What does all the noise say? Why am I getting so emotional about this? And how do I find this middle ground, of what works for me? And knowing that when you get into this calorie restricting phase, what are you actually restricting? If you're going on MyFitnessPal and tracking calories, you're going to see all these metrics of macros, etc. But most women focus on the number, like, oh dear, I'm over my allotted amount for the day, whatever that arbitrary number that they pull out of their hat, right? Like, I only should be eating 800, 1200, whatever. What are you missing, right? You're going to probably cut down the high caloric foods like fat and protein and go
Mhm.
in for more veg. Now, there's nothing wrong with veg. We need that fiber for digestion, for detox, all that good stuff, gut bacteria. But when you don't get your adequate building blocks for muscle, protein, right?
Mhm.
We all know how much we lose muscle at this age and stage for neurotransmitters. You might be missing a whole piece of this joint pain.
Mm. I love that. I love that, right? Because, some some processed food is going to be less calories than a whole food, right? So you're going to trend towards that. And so now you're starting to lose weight, you're choosing this processed food, but your knee pain's going up because your inflammation is going up in your body, right? It's complicated, but yet it can be simple. Back that up for me.
No, but it is complicated, yet it can be simple. Simple if you take it one step at a time
Mhm,
and
mhm,
don't. How many of us wake up in the morning and I got knee pain, I'm going on a diet, and then I'm joining the gym. I just signed up for Sherry's thing, and right, it's too
mhm.
much. And then we just increase our stress.
Yes.
We also don't look at the indirect things that happen in our body, right? So, and this isn't always for everybody. When we talk about this, like giant in the room of inflammation, like, what is that? What is
Mhm,
it coming from? It could be stress, because when you're stressed, you're increasing an immune response. If you have poor oral health, you have a trigger for a high alert of your immune response in the body. So you have already some inflammation that, yes, can translate to inflammation elsewhere. But even when you look at, say, gut bacteria, there is research. I remember this from my dental hygiene education. When we have bacteria in our system,
mhm,
sometimes it can travel. That pathogenic bacteria can actually travel. It can go into a knee joint and cause inflammation. So, did you wreck your knee, or is it something else? And now that isn't saying that everybody's got bacteria in their knee. I don't want anyone to walk away with that. But it's the big picture, right? Without getting perfection in there. So, say you've got that journal, that movement journal down, you've got a routine, your sweet spot of what you can and can't do right now, and you're staying there with maybe some effort to build on that. What do you want to focus on next? Should you go with like your calories in your diet? Sure, you can do whatever you like, right? Body autonomy. But what about if you look at it from, what's my digestive health like? Like, do I eat enough fiber? Right?
Mhm.
Am I getting enough protein? And do I have a balance? Because all of these things actually matter. There's
Mhm.
other things that can happen in the body that can relate to inflammation, like not going to the bathroom, right? How many
Yeah.
women do we meet who don't go to the bathroom?
Yeah.
And so, again, I hope I answered your question because when you start to ask these questions about, what you said, it's simple, but it's complicated. The body, you can't talk about one system without talking about a few.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. So, and I mean, you know, I just want to bring back also to knee pain, right? When it comes to that, you have, you know, exhausted all your avenues too. You've been to your doctor, you've been to physio, you know, you've been, and I have in the last year had an MRI, been to physio, got a diagnosis. I know what I'm dealing with, right? And so then it comes to finding that management that works to keep the pain down. I find food has a lot to do with that. Now, I don't know if I'm just sensitive or whatever, but I find if I increase sugar, my body pain goes up.
Yeah.
And I will feel that in both knees. Could that be a possibility?
Oh, absolutely. I have met women who can make a direct correlation between sugar and alcohol. There's
Mhm.
sugar in alcohol and knee pain. I even know for myself that if I actually have a glass or two of wine, I hurt. And we're dehydrating ourselves, we're depleting minerals. That can happen with sugar as well. So yes, I will never say, even as the non-diet, and I started talking about these camps, right? I have a little bit of a shift in what I mean as non-diet, but you can't negate the fact that for some people, sugar may make you feel like garbage and increase your pain.
Mhm. Mhm. So I'm going to give you, for instance, so I have a client and she
Mhm,
has had a very bad back injury and MRIs and physio bring her through it and massage and all those places. But in this, some of the medication they put her on caused a weight gain. And then also just from not moving, not being active at all for
mhm.
months has brought another weight gain. So
Yeah.
now she's looking at, she figures between 40 and 50 pounds. You know, that can be a little overwhelming,
Mhm.
right? And the extra weight playing on the joint as she starts to get moving again, you know, all these things. What are, you know, maybe some things that she could do?
Sorry about my dinging.
It's okay. No worries.
What are some things she can do? Well, you know what I think about? Um, you've touched on this in one of your videos and emails about your mother-in-law and
Hmm.
activity, right?
Hmm.
Anything we do to raise our basic activity level, our NEAT, right? The non-exercise activity thermogenesis is movement. And sometimes I wonder if this is like a mindset shift, right?
Hmm.
When we are watching television, if she can't stand on a knee, if she has trouble with her back, would you suggest simple movement, like
Yeah, yeah,
mobility, right?
yeah.
Uh,
We've
from
started
an
we've started with chair movement actually.
That's wonderful. And then
Yeah.
from an eating perspective, I really feel that there can be some merit into looking at when you eat, why you eat, what you're feeling when you eat,
Hmm.
because we have the fine line of increasing activity and whatever people will say about, oh, it's not calories in, it's not calories in, it's calorie, you know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
It's the calorie in, calorie out equation. It shouldn't matter. Physiologically, for some people, maybe it does. I'm
Hmm.
not a weight loss expert. I never want to be.
Hmm.
But if you are not getting enough protein, if you are restricting and eating salads and then having sugar binges late at night, I've been doing that. Like back in the past, I would do that because I didn't want to eat. But then
Hmm.
by 6 o'clock, my brain was like, I need something. I need something, right? Because we have no
Yeah,
energy.
yeah,
So maybe taking an overview of what that all looks like, not just the what, but the how, the why. Am I eating fast? Am I eating in secret? Do I need to binge? Am I depressed? There's so many things that could go into that.
yeah, absolutely. And I love that. I love that because now you're laying again that foundation of looking at, okay, what's really happening to me? And am I, okay, so I'm not eating enough through the day. I'm binging sugar at the night. I'm waking up in the morning and I'm beating myself up, right? There's the cycle. And I've been on that. You've been on that. Most women have been on that. And, so recording that, taking a look at it, you can't go by memory. And I
No.
say this all the time, you cannot go by memory. And so, just jotting down what you ate at what time and how you felt. And like you said, people get into, no, I don't want a food journal. I don't want to do this, but it's the mindset. I think you're so right there in which you approach it, right? I want to take better care of myself. And I want to find a way to do that. And who can teach us that the best? Our bodies,
I
right?
like how you touch back on the food journal because I do want to put a caveat in there. Because there are some people who, for themselves, if they've had an eating disorder, food journaling can be very triggering.
Mhm.
Then
Uh-oh, froze up.
this is where I find the intuitive eating mindset to be not enough at times. So, in talking about food journaling, if you have someone who has potentially an eating disorder, we need to think about where that might have come from. And so, I'm going to use myself as a personal example. I had to ask myself, is it binging and restricting that's actually driving my need at times to want this or that, to soothe with food?
Mhm.
No, it's food deprivation. I grew
Mhm.
up with a single mom and food deprivation, and it is a pattern in my mind. It's subconscious that at times I can still feel it. When am I going to get that food again? Do I need to have 5 helpings of it? Because that's part of our food behavior. And so in journaling, sometimes that can be a negative trigger. You can, as an option, I find, just to sit at your meal and take a few deep breaths. You're going to signal that relaxation response, which helps you digest. But you might be able to just do a mental tune in to how you feel right now. Am I hungry? No. Okay. Am I feeling overwhelmed? Yes. Is there something I can give myself right now besides food? Let's look at that. Am I
Mm.
still hungry emotionally for something? Then you can make your decision to eat or not to eat, but you're bringing more consciousness to your food patterns.
Mhm. I love that.
It's a difficult road for some to dig into the thought process around food. That's why people, I think, choose diets because it looks easy, right? But what happens when you're sick of the diet and you go back to the old behavior and your problem with your knee is still there because you're focusing so much on 1200 whatever a day? It's not productive.
That's right. That's right. And you'll come off and you'll just start the whole cycle again. And I mean, little food behaviors that I've noticed in myself. If I'm walking around the kitchen, just circling, I'm just circling like a bird of prey, right? In the kitchen, just like, okay, what do we got in here? I know I need soothed. I know that having an eating disorder myself, right? I know that about me. And I have to leave the kitchen and I have to choose to go do something else consciously because once I become um, mindful and drop into that moment, I can say to myself, okay, Sherry, you are circling the kitchen and You're not hungry. You need to go leave the kitchen, go do something else. And I will always choose to go do something active at that point, whether that's to get outside, whatever it is, right? To shut that down. But I've also, through that been able to hold my own hand and say, okay, I'm going to go try this. And if this doesn't work, well, then I'll come back and have something because it just seems to be where it's at for me. And that when I came to that mindful way of nurturing myself, it was a game changer. Really was.
Step a lot of us at this age, we don't give it credit, you know. It's a big step, right? It's like you're here, you're circling the kitchen, but then you're the guilt and all the cycle is over here when you create this part where you're like, oh, and with what do we talk about? Self-compassion, being kind to yourself when you do that, to recognize that, you know what, this is where I'm at. Maybe I'm going to go do something else and see what happens. That curiosity, and I'm not going to beat myself up for wanting to have a bag of chips or whatever, but let's experiment. Let's see what happens if I leave that for half an hour and go for a walk. Where's my mind at? And I love that you describe movement, because when you think about what movement does to the brain and what food can do to the brain, we can turn on that reward center and that feel good euphoria with both.
Mhm.
But wouldn't it be fun to see what happens with the movement first?
And the movement lasts longer,
Yeah, it does, doesn't it?
right? That feeling of
So
euphoria
true.
lasts longer than that piece of chocolate will last.
For sure, because that's why we keep going back for more.
Exactly, exactly, right? Um, this has been wonderful. I like to keep it in 30 minutes.
Okay.
So we're going to end it here, but it's such a great conversation. I know you and I are going to have more conversations because we just love to chat about this stuff. And I want to thank you so much for joining me and bringing your expertise on these topics. It's just been so wonderful.
I thank you as well, Sherry, because I also learned so much from you in shifting my movement at this age, this stage, and you inspire me every day. So I'm grateful for you too.
Ah, thanks so much. Thanks so much. All right, I am going to Tanya. How do we find you?
Right now, you can find me on Instagram at a mindful nutritionist. I'm also here on YouTube at a mindful midlife nutritionist. I've actually paused all workings with clients because I am in a self-care stage. That's not going to be forever, but I would love to still hear from you, connect with me, follow me, ask me questions. I love creating content that helps you live a better and more fulfilled life.
I love that. I love that. Thank you so much for joining me. Namaste.
Bye-bye.